I've basically remade this review from the original, which was published in 2011. Hello and welcome to this review of Gemini Rue. Gemini Rue was released in early 2011 after having been picked up by New York-based publisher and developer Wadjet Eye games. Fans of their games will already be familiar with the engine this game uses, a freeware program called Adventure Game Studios, or AGS for short, developed by Chris Jones. Now, whether you want to create a basic 2D point-and-click or a highly polished adventure game like Gemini Rue, AGS allows the average Joe to try their hand at games development. There's no denying that Gemini Rue borrows heavily from the classic 1982 movie Blade Runner. But we should be mindful that for the last 30 years or so, everything around us has been influenced by that movie in one way or another. Indeed, while it's really been that long since it first depicted a futuristic dystopia which combined futurism and decay, computer technology, fetishism, retro styling and urbanism, it really shows no signs of abating. Such was its influence that nothing has been able to challenge the hold of Blade Runner on our vision of the future, what Peter Lunenfeld once claimed would mire us in a permanent present. Obvious examples include the game's setting and artwork. The game starts off around 212 years from now in the city of Pittsburgh, one of the 4 major cities of the Gemini system. Pittsburgh is very bleak in that not only has it recently suffered from perpetual acid rain thanks to the nearby weather tower, but shopfronts are boarded up and victims of drugs, what this game terms juice, line the streets. To cap it all off, the local crime syndicate / government that call themselves the Boryakudan dominate everything, leaving ordinary citizens fearful of their lives and with an economy in the dumps after a recent war of independence. You initially play as a former assassin called Azrael Odin, who arrives on Baracus from off-world in search of one of his former comrades. The player soon learns that through this person, Azrael will be able to contact his long-lost brother. During the course of the investigation, the player will be helped by Azrael's less-than-eager sidekick, Kane Harris, who serves to provide hints and tips during the Azrael sections of the game. Now, gems such as Gemini Rue demonstrate that there are some developers who can not only develop games that stay true to their chosen format, but which can at the same time successfully incorporate movies and literature. And no, I don't mean merely using things such as movie licenses. The most striking examples of this can be found in the various postmodern settings within the game, 2D scenes that rely just as heavily on the use of your own imagination as that of the in-game visuals. You won't hear me say this very often when it comes to 2D adventure games, but I urge anyone playing Gemini Rue to simply let go of the controls for a minute or two during any one of the early stages and let your imagination take you to another dimension, to another level. This is what most video games fail to conjure up in its players. Players who are too distracted either by gameplay urges or by the fancy special effects and gazillion polygons, which serve merely to take the thoughts of what the player should see and interpret in their mind's eye out of their hands. Obviously, being a point-and-click adventure game aids it somewhat, but games such as these, ones that encourage you to exercise your own imagination instead of relying solely on what the computer or console can conjure up, are few and far between. The game is your standard point-and-click affair, though Gemini Rue lends itself to the more traditional kind, in the form of a context-based menu when interacting with objects. Another notable homage to Blade Runner is in the use of photographic enhancement. During one of the game's puzzles, the player has to use a computer, in this case a public information node, to zoom in and to clarify a photographic image. I found this section to be particularly significant. It does, however, deviate from traditional adventure games in that it features an in-game search engine that can simplify searches by allowing players to drag names and entries into the search box. While this is nothing new, it's a welcome addition to the game. The search engine, by the way, also acts in a similar way to how the knowledge pills worked in Wadjet Eye's other game, Emerald City Confidential, because it gives players the chance to look into the history or the diachronic story of the game. During the course of the adventure, the player will find out more about an asylum called Center 7, an institution many people thought to have been decommissioned, but which in reality has been re-established as a training facility where the subject's mind is wiped clean. Once again, comparisons of a reconditioning facility and Blade Runner's replicants are unavoidable, though this is not a sign of the game's creative impoverishment. The game adapts the cult movie's moral questioning for its own audience, though you never once feel that they have blatantly ripped the movie off. Gemini Rue also features a fun and interesting combat mechanic. During various sections of the game, the character has to hide behind certain parts of the scenery and direct fire using a basic cover system. Further depth is added in the form of being able to use a kind of accuracy meter to increase the chances of landing a headshot. I found that these sections were not detrimental because it didn't distract from its core as a point-and-click adventure game. There was obviously the risk of creating a game that didn't quite know what it wanted to be, an example being Broken Sword 3's stealth sections that left players unsure because it already made inroads into genres that were totally at odds with the previous games and the player's knowledge of what to expect from that particular genre. But with Gemini Rue, you never get that kind of impression. Everything has been created as part of the overall experience, and you never once feel things have simply been tagged on just for the sake of it. The audio is brilliant, there are no two ways about it. One thing that you should come to expect from Wadjet Eye is the quality of the voice acting, and this game certainly doesn't disappoint. And neither does the musical score. Some of the pieces are quite epic and serve to heighten the player's emotion during various key moments. To conclude this review then, Gemini Rue is a great game, so great in fact that it shapes up as arguably one of the most accomplished games ever to come out of Wadjet Eye. In fact, it's so refreshing to see such a fun and engrossing adventure created with, I'm sure, a fraction of the development costs of most other games. I'll end by saying that there was once a time when developers once thought the following.
I just never thought you'd harm me. You hold me closely, but now I know you love me mostly. Sorry, Joe, you ain't a lover, you're a house on fire, I'm burning so. You hear that siren coming, baby, I gotta go. You're in my past, Joe, I had my fill, it couldn't last, Joe, baby, I got this. There's no one happy in a house on fire, why do I